All right, let's talk about Ethereum. The next huge upgrade, Fusaka, is officially locked in for December 3rd. Now, if you've been around crypto for a while, you know these upgrades can be the spark for some absolutely massive price rallies. So, the big question is, will Fusaka do it again? Let's break down what this thing actually is, and more importantly, what it could mean for the price of ETH.
Yeah, this is the real question, isn't it? A new Ethereum upgrade is on its way, but could it be the thing that sparks the next big rally for ETH? You know, it's easy to get lost in all the technical jargon, but what we all really want to know is, will this make the price go up? So today, we're going to dig into the tech, look back at what happened with past upgrades, and figure out what this all could mean for the future of Ethereum.
Okay, so first step, what in the world is Fusaka? Let's decode Ethereum's next big move. It's not just one simple change. Think of it more like a whole package of improvements, all designed to make the network better from the ground up. Let's get into it.
And you gotta love the name, right? It's a classic bit of Ethereum nerd culture. See, the name Fusaka is actually two words smashed together. The consensus layer part is Fulu, which is named after a star, and the execution layer part is Osaka, named after a city where they held a big developer conference. You put them together, and boom, Fusaka. Just a fun little tidbit before we dive into the really technical stuff.
Now, you don't just roll out a change this big without a ton of testing, and that's exactly what they did. Fusaka was put through its paces on 3 different test nets back in October: Helasi, Sepolia, and Hudi. Every single one was a success, and with all those green lights, the mainnet launch is officially locked and loaded for December 3rd. It's happening.
So when we talk about Fusaka, what are we actually talking about? Well, it's not one single upgrade. It's actually a bundle of 12. 12 distinct upgrades all rolled into one. In the crypto world, we call these Ethereum Improvement Proposals, or just EIPs for short. In each one of these 12 EIPs targets a very specific part of the network.
Okay, so 12 different proposals. That sounds complicated, right? But here's the key thing to remember. They all share one big goal, and that goal is increasing scalability. We're talking about making Ethereum's main layer, the base layer, faster and more efficient. It's all about prepping the core network to handle way more traffic and future growth. Now, out of all those 12 upgrades, there is one that is absolutely the star of the show. It's called EIP 7594, or PERDOS. This one is a huge deal. Here's a simple way to think about it. Imagine before, to make sure everything was legit, you had to download an entire massive library of books. With PERDOS, it's like you can now verify the entire library is correct just by checking a few random words on a few random pages. It's a massive, massive leap forward for efficiency.
But hey, the other 11 EIPs aren't just sitting on the sidelines. They're doing some serious heavy lifting too. We're talking about things like beefing up network security to stop attacks, optimizing how data is managed to keep things running smoothly, and even creating more predictable transaction costs, which, we all want. They also work on making the network more sustainable in the long run and even improving the user experience, like integrating with Web 2 stuff we already use.
All right, so we've got all these technical upgrades: PERDOS, scalability, data management, but why does any of this actually matter? What's the so what here for Ethereum and for you as an investor? Let's connect the dots.
Okay, let's be real for a second. It's super important to set the right expectations here. In the short term, you probably won't notice much. As a regular user, these are mostly under-the-hood fixes. But the long-term game? That's where this gets exciting. By seriously boosting scalability and security at its core, Fusaka makes Ethereum way more appealing for the big players. We're talking institutional money. It's paving the way for the next big wave of growth.
And to really understand why this is such a big deal, we have to talk about something called the blockchain trilemma. It's a concept that Vitalik Buterin himself came up with. The basic idea is that it is incredibly hard for a blockchain to be 3 things at once: super secure, truly decentralized, and crazy scalable. You almost always have to trade one of those things to get more of the other 2.
And this is where Fusaka becomes a potential game changer. It's a huge step toward actually solving that trilemma for Ethereum. Because of that star EIP we talked about, PERDOS, the network can get a massive scalability boost without having to sacrifice its decentralization or security. This isn't just an upgrade, it's about making Ethereum a more complete and powerful platform, period.
Okay, tech talk is great, but let's get to the part I know you've been waiting for. How is all of this going to impact the price of ETH? To get a clue, we don't need a crystal ball. We just need to look at what's happened in the past.
You know the saying, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes? Well, take a look at this.
With the merge in 2022, Shapella in 2023, and Denkin earlier this year, we saw the exact same pattern. A huge rally before the upgrade, and then a classic sell the news drop right after it went live. But then, look at Pectra. It broke the mold. It actually surged after the upgrade. So the lesson here is that the hype almost always builds beforehand, but what happens next, that's not always so predictable.
So what does that mean for Fusaka? Well, it really leaves us with two potential scenarios. The bull case, Fusaka becomes the catalyst for a major recovery rally, maybe even breaking that historical sell the news pattern because the market conditions are different. But then there's the bear case. History could repeat itself and we could see another post-hype dip. Or, maybe even worse, it could be a nothing burger that just fails to get anyone excited.
But of course, we know that the future of Ethereum doesn't all ride on this one upgrade. I mean, Fusaka is a big piece of the puzzle for sure, but there are so many other things happening that could push the price up or down. So let's zoom out and look beyond Fusaka for a minute.
And honestly, there's a lot to be bullish about right now. We've got the pending stake spot Ethereum ETFs, which could unleash a torrent of institutional money. The Ethereum Foundation itself is really focused on institutional adoption. Plus, there are more upgrades already planned down the road, like Glamsterdam. Throw in the fact that Bitcoin dominance is falling, which could signal an altcoin season is coming. And yeah, the setup for growth is definitely looking good.
But we have to keep a level head, right? There are always risks. What if the mainnet deployment has a bug? That would be a huge blow to confidence. What if the upgrade just doesn't generate the excitement we expect? Then you have the wider economy to worry about, and even potential selling pressure from companies that hold a lot of ETH. These are all real headwinds we need to watch out for.
So, that brings us right back to the million-dollar question. Is Fusaka going to spark that major ETH rally we're all hoping for, or is it going to be a nothing burger? Look, technically, this upgrade is a huge win for Ethereum. It's making the network stronger for the long haul. But whether that translates into a big price move, well, that's the part we'll have to wait and see. But now, you know exactly what this is all about and what to keep an eye on.